Hey, hello champions. Welcome to this lab over cross-region replication. So let's take a quick look at this feature and see how do we perform this feature to understand it well. So quickly getting started. So we are into our Amazon console, and once you type on S3, you will come to S3 console. That's simple storage bucket. And once you are into S3 bucket, what we will be doing is we will be creating a source bucket. So let's quickly have a look at steps. So here are quick steps. First, we will create a source bucket. And when I say that, we will create a bucket name, kind of, let's say demo S3 CRR source 1736. Okay. And we will create it in North Virginia region. Okay. We will keep it ACL enabled. We will make it public, and we will also enable versioning. So let's quickly do that. So I'll say create bucket. I'll give it the name as demo S3 CRR hyphen source hyphen. I'm giving a random number just to make it unique, 1736. And okay, let's create this in North Virginia region. Okay, make sure this is ACL enabled and with a default bucket owner preferred. And then to make this bucket public, I will uncheck block all public access. So unchecking it makes this bucket as public. I will acknowledge this. And here we need to enable versioning, because versioning is important if you are going for cross-region replication. So that's a must feature. Rest of the settings, I will keep it as it is, like encryption, we don't need it. And in the advanced setting, you would see the object locking feature, which I don't think you would need it here. So I will go with the default settings and we will create a bucket. Okay, so we have our source bucket created. Now let's move on to the next step. So what we will do is, we need to create a destination bucket. But before moving on to the destination bucket, what we will do is, let me put this step here. Okay, so I'll move this as a second step. So we will put an object just to see what happens to the object which are already existing in the bucket. Okay, so I'll go into the source bucket, and now I will put a file, and what that file is. So I have created a text file, and so this text file is the test-replication.txt, and it says replication successful. So I'll put this file. Okay, I'll upload this. So I'm uploading this to the source bucket right now. Okay, and as you can see, we have this single file. Now what I will do is I will create version of same file. So I'll go into the notepad, and let's say this is final version. Okay, so I've just saved it, and I'll upload the same file over here. So I'll upload text-replication. The file has got uploaded, and you can see the file is here. And if I click on show versions, we have two versions. Let's make this public. So I'll make this the latest version as public to see what content we have here. So I will make it public, make public using ACL, and I'll say make public. Okay, so with that thing, what we will do is we'll try accessing the current object. Maybe we can click on close off this versions. Okay, now just right click to get the URL. So here you have the object URL, and if I right click and open a new tab, you see this is a final version. Okay, now this is what we have in source bucket without destination bucket or without replication enabled. And now is what we will do is we will create a destination bucket. Okay, so we'll move on to the next step. We'll create a destination bucket with demo S3 CRR destination 1736. This name. So I'll say create bucket, and the name is demo S3 CRR destination. So earlier one was source, and this one is destination with the same naming convention. But earlier, since this is cross region, So earlier bucket being in Virginia, we will make this bucket or create this one in North California. Okay, so I'll create in that. Make sure the ACL is enabled. So I'll click on ACL enabled with bucket owner preferred. This bucket too has to be public. Okay, and I'll acknowledge this. Now, ideally, I should enable versioning here, but I just wanted to show you something. So I'm not enabling versioning here on the destination because I wanted to show you something. So you can enable ideally here, but let's show you something interesting. So encryption, I'll go with disabled and I will say create bucket. So we have the destination bucket as well. And as you know, in the destination bucket, which that we created with this name is in North California with a default bucket owner, and bucket is public, and we have not enabled versioning right now. Now what we'll do is we'll enable replication. So ideally you should enable versioning, but even if you haven't, you will get an option to enable that during replication. So let's create a replication, and the replication steps are, we will go to the source bucket. So here is where we have source bucket. So this is my source bucket, and we already have got object. And let me show you, we don't have any object in the destination. So destination bucket, as you know, is empty, which we just created. I will go into the source bucket. I will go into the management. And then you will see lifecycle rule and replication rules. Since we are here with the intention to learn replication, I will click on create replication rule. Okay, so here you need to give replication ID. So that can be any ID, a name. So I'll give it as demo. We will select a destination bucket, which we just created. We will create a role, okay, and we will select a storage class. So let's go on the UI. So let's give it a replication rule name as demo-CRR, that is demo cross-region replication. Status, definitely we want to keep it as enabled. And this is a source bucket, as we know, in North Virginia. Now, you can select a scope of this rule. Do you want to apply this to using filters or to all objects? So I will say all objects. So whatever objects that we copy here onwards, those, this rule would be applied to all those objects. Now, you can enable cross-region replication within the buckets of same account or other accounts as well. To make this lab a simple one, I'll keep it the same account. And that's why we need to select a bucket name. So I'll say browse S3. And here we will select a bucket name destination. So demo S3 CRR destination, because this is where we want to implement the replication. So we were into source bucket, we went into management, create lifecycle rule, and create replication rule, and we are selecting destination bucket. So make sure you understand steps. And did you see that it immediately recognized that the versioning is not enabled on destination bucket? That's what we missed on deliberately. Okay, so if at all you see a bucket which is not on which the versioning is not enabled and you want to apply a replication, you can click here, enable bucket versioning, and you see we have enabled versioning on destination bucket, which we left out intentionally. And now let's come to the IAM rules. So if you already have an IAM role, which you want, so just select, go with the default, like choose from existing IAM roles. And since we don't have, so we will say create a new role. So you don't need to worry, you don't need to create any role. Replication like this process itself would create a role for you. Okay, so I'll select create existing IAM roles, choose existing IAM roles, and I'll say create a new role. And here you can enable replication objects with AWS KMS. Okay, then you have other you can say features like where replication, if you click on this RTC, replication time control, it will ensure that the replication happens within 15 minutes. 99.99% of the times. You can also see some metrics and notification on CloudWatch if you enable this, and you can also replicate the delete marker replication. So if you check this, so I'm not going into those settings to keep this lab simple, and I will say save. So we just created a replication rule for us. And here is the important point, guys. So earlier, you remember replication, we were able to apply it only objects which would be copied here onwards in the source bucket. But now Amazon gives you an option. If there are existing objects in the bucket and you want to apply replication to those rules, you can select yes, replicate existing objects. But here, I will keep it as no. You can try both the options. Here, I will keep it as no, do not replicate existing objects. And let's see what happens. So I'll click on submit. Okay, and you see we have a replication rule here. So the replication rule is already there, and let's go to our destination bucket. So here I have my source bucket, and now in source bucket, as you know, we already have this object, and in the destination bucket, if I refresh it, you see we don't have any object, because after enabling replication, we haven't copied any object. So again, going back to the source bucket, and as you know, we have two versions here. Let's update the third version of our file. I'm again into my notepad, and let's say this is final 3 version. So this is a version. I will save this file, and now let's upload this file to our source bucket. So I'll say upload, add files. Okay, and now I will make this file as public again, just to see the content. Okay, I'll say this, make it public. And just to see its content, I will click on that object to get the object URL. Okay, so once you right click this object URL, since the object was made public, you can see I have the final 3 version, but this is in the source bucket. Let's see what's happening in the destination bucket. So in the destination bucket, let me refresh the destination bucket right now. So you see the file is replicated here, in the destination bucket. Now, important points to note. Okay, so we have one file. Let's see if all the versions of those files are replicated, or only the latest or current version is replicated. So I will click on show versions, and you can see only the current file is replicated. And let's try to browse this file. So I'll just right click on this object to get its object URL. And once I right click on this object URL to see the destination content, I am able to see the final version. So this is the final version. And something important to notice here, guys, the object that I copied into in the source bucket, I made it public, and now in the destination bucket, without making it public, those things were also copied. Okay, so maybe it's, if you immediately do that, the public permissions are also copied or replicated here. So this is slightly different than what it was earlier. Okay, so now you see in the source bucket, we have, let's go into the source bucket. So in the source bucket, if you see, we have different versions, and these 2 versions existed before replication. Right now, we enabled replication, and this was the latest version, and only latest version has got copied. Now let's again update this file. Okay, and let's take this is final 5 version. Okay, and I save this file, and let's upload this one now. So if I upload this, and I will again make it as public. So this is what we are doing in the source bucket. And if you see in the versions, now we are into the source bucket. Okay, we have 4 versions now. So let's see what's happening in the destination bucket. So in the destination bucket, what I will do is I will refresh this screen. Okay, and you see now, so even the versioning is copied. After replication, even if you make versions of that file in the source bucket, everything is getting copied after replication. Now, let's try to, again, open this URL. So if I click to open this URL, you see we have final 5 version. So even the file is public as we did in the source bucket. Okay, so you see, this is what we had to convey. Like, if you are copying in the, whatever you copy in the source bucket, that gets replicated even along with the version once replication is enabled. So to quickly summarize, you can also apply a replication now to existing objects at the time of replication. You saw that, that pop-up which came in. Now, and the important thing to know is, before we conclude this lab, is you can implement cross-region replication in same AWS account or different AWS account. Here, to keep it simple, we use the same account. And the use case for different AWS account is, let's say you have, in the production account, you have some logs and you want it to be stored in an S3 bucket in some other AWS account where the audience doesn't have much access, or very limited audience has access. So they cannot play with the logs, right? They cannot manipulate the logs. So this is where you will implement the cross-region replication in different AWS accounts. And you can also implement the same region replication. That means you can implement the replication feature with the buckets in the same region, like the source and destination being in the same region of North Virginia, or in the same region of any region of your choice. So that is what we have in this lab. Hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you give it a shot, and yes, do let us know. Write your 3 to 5 key learnings in the comment section, and I would look forward to see you in the next lab with some interesting concept. So see you in the next lab. Cheers. Bye-bye.